I used to freaking wake up drinking and be like, oh, I feel sorry. I learned this from Frank Sinatra. I feel sorry for how people wake up in the morning. That's the best they're going to feel all day that don't drink. Well, I wake up in the morning and I feel great all day, every day. Most of the day, I've created that high without taking any drugs, anything. It's just 110% Kelly Siegel.
It's time to get inside your own head. Begin with the psychology behind your behaviors. Infuse it with an acute understanding of self-awareness, emotion, storytelling, body language, and more. Then look at it all through the lens of the latest neuroscience research, broken down to its most digestible form. And you've arrived. Enhanced messaging, deeper connection, heightened influence, and a greater impact on the world. Welcome to the Amplify Podcast with René Rodriguez.
Welcome, everybody, to the Amplify Podcast. And today I have a very special guest by the name of Kelly Siegel. And I'll do a quick introduction because I want to get into this conversation. And today's conversation is going to be about what could potentially be seen as cliche and something we hear all the time is overcoming adversity and the challenges in life and fitness. But I also believe, you've heard me say this a million times, that the answers to life are found in cliches. And the reason why I want to have this specific conversation with Kelly is because he's a walking, living specimen of somebody who lives all of these things. A lot of people talk about it. Very few people live it. And I think you'll get a very quick view aesthetically that this man is truly a definition of what it means to be focused on fitness. That's the first thing you see. But when you talk to him, you start realizing there's so much more behind the physicality. But somebody once told me that your body is a billboard. You can lie about your numbers. You can lie about all sorts of things, but your body can't lie. And that's been sort of at the core of my journey. And so today I want to welcome Kelly Siegel, who's the CEO of NTM, National Technology Management. It's a really fantastic technology firm and has been through hell and back. Started a coaching program, wrote a book called Harder Than Life. Now he's got a new book coming out called Happier Than Life, which is really, really cool. And so we'll have a conversation of happy. He and I have gone back and forth with the word happy and what it means from a semantic perspective. So it'll be a great discussion. So Kelly, welcome, my brother. And it's great to have you on.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for picking up my call during the holiday. And here we are again, talking for the second time. And I'm coming to your house. I'm super excited. And, you know, all the cliches that you say still stick with me. The never argue, what was it, politics and semantics? That one has stuck with me forever.
Right. Yeah. Taste and semantics. Can't argue taste. Like, my favorite color is red. No, it's not. That's stupid. Stupid color. It's like, I don't really argue that. It's like trying to argue shoe size. It's like, it is what it is. Right?
We love doing that, though. If you think about it, Renee, we love doing that as a society, arguing over the innuendos and nothing. You're a Democrat, you're a Republican. Is the left side, the right side? It's crazy. It's energy that we don't need to expend.
Isn't that funny? It is truly arguing about nothing of value, and it's instead of listening and learning, we think that arguing, especially on social media, is going to accomplish anything, and it just doesn't. You put your political views on social media, all you're going to do is alienate the ones that you actually want to influence and attract people that already believe what you believe, and there's no skill set in that.
The hardest thing, and I believe that you talk about it all the time, is just saying no thank you for that conversation. I will not be a part of it. I teach it to my 16-year-old daughter, and she laughs. She's like, well, Dad, what are they going to do? I go, their jaw's going to drop, and they're either going to gravitate to you, and those are your people, or they're going to run away from you, and they did you a favor either way.
100%. And it's not that we can't have the conversation. Talking to Jocko Willink, you hear him talk about who's, black belt in jiu-jitsu, trained assassin, very dangerous man. And he said, if you're a big guy, if you're somebody and you want to pick a fight with me, you know what I'm going to do? Run. And it's not that he can't fight. It's just no need of the energy, no need of the outcome. The output is not helping anyone. It's nothing to prove. But that reflects the mindset and the inner philosophy that I think is what I would love to talk about. It's for me to be able to run from a fight when knowing that I can engage in it, fight verbal or physical, requires, I think, such a strong sense of self and who you are to be able to walk away from that argument, knowing that you have nothing to prove in that and your ego's not involved in it. It's there. So talk to me about, let's get a little bit about your background and your story, where you came from, because you've reached an enormous amount of success. Money is not the concern for you anymore. In fact, your coaching program, you're going to be donating 100% back to charity, which is phenomenal, by the way. and rare. And so, and in a day of these fake coaches that try to stack money, you've already made your money as an entrepreneur. And like you said, you live a very quite, relatively humble lifestyle for what you can live. And you're going to give that money back to the people that supported you, and then 3 different charities of your choice. So let's go back and how we got to that place, because that is you've achieved this amazing privilege of being able to do that through the difficulties. Walk us through some of that.
You see me grinning and smiling. And what that is me running through the gain in my head. I grew up in the ghetto. I went to high school with Eminem off of 8 Mile, the movie that he made famous. That's what we did. We fought. If you didn't fight, you weren't tough. You weren't cool. You weren't in the in crowd. Needless to say, most of my friends growing up in high school are dead or in jail. So thank goodness I decided to get away and go to college, get educated. So the superpower in life is exactly what Jocko was talking about. And Jordan Peterson made it famous. Become dangerous man and learn to control it. Yeah. And it is a dangerous man that cannot attend every argument, every fight that he gets invited to. And that's when you have self-mastery and understand that, most of the time that's the other person's insecurity or unhealedness projecting onto you. Yeah. And you don't even have to help them. They'll come to you by watching you and watching how you model yourself and how you carry yourself. That's why so many people are attracted to the Hard in Life brand. Is there's no chinks in my armor. I'm not sneaking off and drinking. I'm not cheating on my girlfriend. I'm not talking on both sides of I live, breathe, and eat it. Today was workout 63 of 500 that we're doing today. I don't know how I came up with that. It wasn't smart, but so basically if you think of 500 workouts in a year, it's basically Andy Frisella's 75 hard 250 times. Yeah. So it is a mental and physical extension that I have never tried before. Sometimes I get a little bit smarter than my britches, and it's very simple. I usually work out about 350 to 360 days a year anyways. And I figured, what's an extra 150? It's a lot.
Oh yeah, what's an extra 150, right?
So you don't even realize how much more you got to eat, the time constraint that you have to do it. But it's like anything else. It makes you tougher because I have to put it in my schedule and I have to live by it. And once I've set it as a goal, I have to do it. It's just non-negotiable. I don't negotiate with myself. So I literally was harder than life. I built all these hard traits just to survive and make it this far. And then now I've developed these daily habits and rituals that make me happier than life. So I'm sharing them with everyone. It'll be out in a month. Yeah. In fact, if people follow me on Instagram at kelly.siegel.71 and message me, René, I will, I'll send you a copy of the first book. And when the second one comes out, I'm giving it away too, because it's going to be the cheat codes for the Hard in Life program, the coaching program, the family. I call everything a family because I grew up without a family. My mother and my stepfather were abusive. They were alcoholics. And I just grew up scared of everything. That's why I built this big, tough body to protect myself, because I don't want to be scared anymore. I believe I used up all my fear growing up. So that's why when I do things, you just see me just walk all nonchalantly. When I come to your workshop, I just don't get scared.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. First, I hope you guys caught that. He's giving you 2 books. One is previous book, Harder Than Life, is a new one, Happier Than Life. So just do that. Say that Kelly.Siegel71.
Yep. And it's I'm going to send you electronic version. We have the hardcover. It'll be on Amazon. They're great reads. And I also got just message me and we'll get you them. And then it's so René we can share everything.
So let's go back to this, because I'm going to positively challenge you. You said I have no kinks in the armor, but I think it's quite the opposite. You're strong because you're not afraid of the kinks and the mistakes that you've made. You don't hide them, right? It's like we all have kinks, but that's the opposite. The fact that you say you're not scared of showing the kinks is the fact that you don't have any kinks. Like, because we can talk about the mistakes and the errors and the humanness of who we are, but you're not hiding them. They're part of the story, and the mistakes that you've made and the bad decisions are all part of the journey, because you're speaking from a position of somebody who's been in that depth, in the dungeon, in the darkness, in the deepest hole. So you can sit down next to someone and go, yeah, I've been here too, man. But here's the way out. Do you want to go? Let's go. And somebody who's never been down in the depths, if you've never been arrested, if you've never been had those negative, depressive thoughts, and you can't relate to other people, but you've been through all those different places. Talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges. I know you said you used to be a party animal, used to drink a lot, used to do all the stuff, none of which is part of your life today. But talk about some of where you came from in that and how you got out.
René, I enjoy talking to you. I said this when we were on my podcast. I just enjoy talking to you because your spin, it's not even a spin. Your perspective on everything is beautiful. You challenge me. So those little things that you talked about, that when I said chinks in your armor and that's what builds you, those are the portals. Those are the green flags of where I need to run into to grow to the next person that I need to be to tackle the next devils. We're trying to get the podcast to number one. I have got to become a different person. Like you see the way I'm talking. I'm a loud, obnoxious man. But you are calm, cool, collected. So I'm meeting you where you are. So I consciously have to keep reminding myself, stop, don't be Kelly Siegel, be René. But I want to meet you where. So those are the pathways and the person, and most of us ignore those.
Yeah, or run from them.
Precious things. And the funny thing about it is God, source, whatever you want to call it, keeps sending you them, and we ignore them. We mask them. We run from them. We use crutches, and that is where you become happy. And really, you'll hear me say this a million times: peace, clarity, and freedom. That's where you get peace. I don't mean just a peace in your harmony in your life, but peace in your heart. And it just feel like you're one in this world and you're here for a reason. All the past ones are well documented. I'll give you some right now.
Before you go there, though, I need to make sure the audience heard something you said, which I thought was so good. It's the chink in the armor is the place of entry to heal and to grow. I added that last piece, but I think that what you were saying, and it reminded me of a quote of Rumi, who's my favorite poet of all time. And he said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." And I mean, and you had a modern version of that. It's like that's the entry place to start looking and growing and healing instead of running from that.
I want to share one with you today that our friend John Acuff put out. I literally texted him and I said, it said, "Lead with your weakness. Your mess is the most powerful message you have." Same different. There's a more new version. John Acuff, the writer of Soundtracks, great book, by the way. And it's the portal. And all too often we're so busy masking and hiding it. And if somebody points it out, if I said to you, "Hey, you're bald," you're like, now you're healed. You'd be like, "Yeah, so what?" But in the past, before, when you were doing the comb over or whatever, I'm picking on you. You would be, and that's funny. It's where the truth hurts is because you struck a freaking wound that needs to be healed. So lean into that, and that's how you get harder than life. And then once you get past that, you get happier than life.
I love it.
So I want to talk about like what I'm going through right now, because I put everything on social media, and people act like, oh, I make it look so easy, because the grind is daily. Why do we shower every day? Because they work. Why do I do these daily rituals, habits? Because it works. It makes me happy. So right now, I am grinding on trying to make the podcast number one in the self-improvement category. And we're working with a new producer who happens to be our good friend, Ed Milet's podcast producer, who is comparing me to Ed Milet. And I'm getting my butt kicked. And he makes me redo these episodes over and over and over until I get them perfect. And I hate repetition, but I lean into it. I'm a sponge. And he ends every freaking solo podcast, which I so far stink at. I released the first one today, 5 Things That Thrive in 2025. I had to do it 4 times. He leans it with, "Kelly, at least you're coachable." Dude, I excel at everything in my life. I've won at everything. I am getting my butt kicked. And I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out. Like, I could sit here and talk to you about my life, you and I as friends. But you throw this camera on, it's just me. And all of a sudden, I went, da, 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 da. So thank goodness for editors. And I lean into that, and I absolutely, now what I do is I prepare, and until I just get comfortable. And you'll see by the end of the year, I'll rip those podcasts off like it was my job. And that's part of the reason why I'm coming to see you.
And that's the mindset, though. That's the mindset that people don't understand. The reality is we're not good at anything at first. Nothing. You didn't walk the first time you tried. But thank God we had parents that held a philosophy of, well, how many chances are you going to give them? And their philosophy was as many as it takes. And so we give
Yeah.
children this grace of as many as it takes. It is what it is. We're just going to keep going until. And then as adults, we stop and then we try something new and we suck at it. And we're like, oh, it must not be good. No. You suck at everything at first. And here you are, somebody who's achieved the financial goals that most of us dream of. You've achieved the body that most people dream of. You've been and you've gotten out of places that are unbeatable. You beat them somehow. And you're finding another place to go, God, I suck at this. All right, well, let's suck fast and let's get it done. I'm just going to fail more times and fast than anybody. And by the end of this, I'll figure it out. But man, I'm getting my butt kicked. But you know what's on the other side of that butt kicking is
Another
mastery. Exactly. Right. It never goes away. It truly never goes away.
And this is why we riff well off each other. You said something in there that I want to remind all the listeners. Grace. Give yourself the grace that you'd give your children, your friends, and everybody else. That is, I have to do it every day because I expect to be further. I expect to be perfect. I do. I am harder on myself than anybody could be hard on me. So that's why when people knock me, they're just undercover fans anyways. I just rolls right off of me because it's you could imagine the things that I say about myself. So when you think about that approach and what it takes, do you remember a time when you sort of had that transition of you're out there partying, you're doing your thing, you're doing the opposite of everything that you're talking about right now, and something clicked, or maybe it was a gradual, because some people think it's some magic bullet or some silver bullet, but oftentimes it's sort of this gradual journey into something. But sometimes there's these defining moments that just, we're like, we hit rock bottom and we don't have another choice. Do you remember what that was for you? There really isn't a rock bottom if you think it is. Rock bottom is death. So we can fix anything but death. So I just, every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a bloated, blotchy Kelly and wasn't living in alignment. And every time I saw pictures on social media of myself out having a good time, I was embarrassed. And it just wasn't who I was. That was the person I was pretending to be. What you see now, this insane chiseled of a man, which I love calling myself insane because most won't, I will. This is who I really am. This is the true and authentic me. I am harder than life. I am happier than life, and I'm going to pay it forward. I joke. I call myself the chosen one because I'm Jewish and Jesus was a Jew, and everything happens for me. I'll take it, get on my back, and I'll pave the way for everybody else. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. So you asked me a question. What was the one moment? It was a 13-year gradual moment, and it was finally, I was 30 years old. I was in Copenhagen, Thailand at the full moon party doing shots with Liam Neeson. And I'm like, I'm going to die. Yeah. And he's sober now too. So 13 years after that, I'm sitting down in Key West, Florida. It's New Year's. My heart's broken. I broke up with my then fiance. And I just looked and I'm like, this booze is just not serving me. It is not my friend. Every single time something bad happens, it's present. Now, it wasn't the causation, but it was definitely a correlation. So when I eliminated that, all kinds of new challenges arise, which was I started feeling my feelings for the first time in my life. Having grown up, physically and emotionally abused, scared for your life, not knowing where your next meal was going to come from. That was the bottle. Once I drank, I had all the friends and all the safety in the world. And it just became commonplace. And I got all the love. Everybody loved drunk Kelly. And then, but I didn't. And that's all that matters. Because all I got to do is look out for me. And I'm the most important person when it comes to my life.
You said something that I thought was really powerful. It was not causation, it was correlation. And if I know you, there's a deeper thought process behind the distinction between those two. Could you break that down for us?
The actual causation was I didn't love myself and I didn't believe I was worthy of love. Now, it took lots and lots of therapy and lots of solitude, stillness, and silence, and a lot of journaling, a lot of unpacking of things. And it took probably the better part of a few years of that until I went, oh, And then once I healed that, once I knew that everything I needed, I could supply myself. I don't need René to love me. I love me. But you know what? Since I love me, you're going to love me. And I have that confidence now to know if you don't, I'm still going to be okay. So that was where the causation was much deeper. It's usually buried in your subconscious as a small t or big T. And that's why we say, you want better fruit, adjust the root.
Want better fruit, adjust the root.
Address the root.
Address the root. Wow. It's such a profound way of thinking about it. So then I go, okay, so one, it would take two things for me as I'm thinking about this for myself. I have to take a look at what fruit I'm bearing. Is it sour? Is it good? Is it what I want? Sometimes the fruit we bear
what is that? That's self-awareness, which most people ignore. So let's go. Yep. Let's do that with you. When you were 150 pounds heavier, what was going on for you?
So for me, it was, there's a lot, because I'd been through that up and down so many times. And my whole thing was, I was an athlete growing up and playing basketball. I never drank. I never did drugs, none of that stuff. But I grew up without a father. I had a stepfather that came in the picture for several years who wasn't, boohoo sob story with that too, is alcoholic and stuff. But the reality is that I grew up with, the family that raised me was Cuban and loved to love me with food. And they loved me a lot. And so food became the central core of love for me. And it sounds so stupid, but it was what made me feel like I belonged in the world and made me feel good inside. And so I get cut my sophomore year in college. I didn't know what to do. I felt empty. So I filled the emptiness. And, I was working out before 7-8 times a week, crazy workouts, but I also ate like a madman. Well, I didn't play basketball anymore, so I didn't work out the same. I kept eating the same. And I did that for 6 years and got it to 45% body fat. That's the same body fat percentage as bacon. And yeah, it's horrible. And so did that up and down. And then finally, you can logic your way into understanding, food equals love. But then in those moments when you're hungry and you truly feel empty inside, your brain tricks you into thinking you're going to die unless you eat this.
Yep. And
the pull is so strong. And finally I had to change and adjust my route of how I looked at it. I had to have something that overshadowed that, which was my desire to be around longer for my kids, to be the best man I could for my wife. She's younger than me, so I need to keep my stuff tight. And once I started making and healing those changes, the weight shifted. Now, it wasn't an overnight thing. I'd yo-yoed many times, but this was a 4-year journey to do it right. I'd drop a level and stay there for 6 months to really make this the new adjustment. Then drop a level, stay there for 6 months, make that new adjustment mentally, physically, emotionally, and then drop another level. Now we're in the process of dropping another level right now of transforming the composition of that. And, I look like a completely different human, but it wasn't overnight. And the majority of the work was internal.
Do you see how similar our stories are? I did the same thing. I had to ascend a level. Yours was drop. I was ascend another level. And it was every year I would do a different modality. One was talk therapy. Second one was hypnotherapy. Then it was EMDR therapy. Then it was plant medicine. And then it was all together. And see how funny it is? You were searching for love, and so was I.
Yeah.
And this is what
who's not, honestly, like anybody who's not searching for love in some way or trying to feel in some way, shape, or form, it's just not real. But the search, what I had to realize for me, and I'll let you continue on this, was I had to do it here first.
What did I point to? I just went, everything you have, I pointed right to my heart. Everything you require, you can supply. You want the cheat code of life? That's it. And how do I do that? Well, that's where you come to our programs. I think we teach you. And it's not an overnight thing. You just said it. For you, it took 4 years. For me, I'm still working on it, but we're 6 years strong into this. And we're going to go to the next level, because you're going to start seeing me in rooms with all the big people. Like I was watching the inauguration. I'm like, I'm going to be the first personal development guy that's going to give an inauguration speech. So they have all these people, all these pastors. Why didn't they have Tony Robbins, Ed Milet? Somebody go up there and give a rah-rah. I'll be me. Yeah. So you heard it first. René's podcast.
And then I'm going to talk you out of the rah rah, and then give the heart message that creates the rah rah inside of their brains, their souls, because I think that's where you really make your big impact. The external rah rah falls off, but that internal decision, like when you share your internal struggle, there's something that does inside of me.
Yeah.
Much more than yelling and screaming will ever do.
As motivational as I am, it will not even feel authentic unless it comes from my heart. So we're gonna refine that message when I see you, and you're gonna see even.
Well, I think that you have that though. Like it's not even refining, man. Like it's tapping into. It's right there because you have
like
that.
ChatGPT, right? We
Right,
know
yeah.
what ChatGPT is going to tell us, but it just point A to point B, just like that, and I don't have to take any effort or any thought, and that's what's so beautiful about that program right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that, like looking at what you're doing, Ed owns his space. Tony owns his space. You have a unique space I think you can own that it doesn't need to be compared.
No.
It's like a fingerprint, right?
And it's funny because that's what we talk about, me and my producer. I'm not Ed. I'm not trying to be Ed. Do I learn from them? Yes.
Of course.
I take pieces from them that resonate with me. Something I learned from Ed Milet was, this will resonate with you, is that a lot of times we associate love with accomplishments. So if I become significant, I will be loved. So that's why a lot of people, high achievers, are chasing after that love, because or they're chasing after that money, because if I just become significant. And I've unpacked that too, to make sure that that's not what I'm doing here with this brand. I had to say, wait a minute, am I doing this to become famous? And the answer is, I wish I could do this without having to be on social media, but this is how I make mass impact and affect change in this world. And that's really what I want. I want everybody to wake up and feel the way I do every day.
Yeah.
I used to freaking wake up drinking and be like, oh, I feel sorry. I learned this from Frank Sinatra. I feel sorry for how people wake up in the morning. That's the best they're going to feel all day, that don't drink. Well, I wake up in the morning and I feel great all day, every day. So now there's just moments of certain days where I feel down. Most of the day, I've created that high without taking any drinking, any drugs, anything. It's just 110% Kelly Siegel.
Yeah. It's funny. My buddy, Dan Fleischman, and he and I had this conversation around fame and being known and what it is. Dan's done some incredible things, and he's created some incredible brands. And I told him, I said, I'm not looking to be famous. And he helped change my mindset and help the semantics around fame. And he said, René, he goes, do you believe you do a good thing for people? I said, yes. He goes, do you feel like you are impacting lives? I said, absolutely. Do you feel like you give different perspectives that change and help people improve theirs? He goes, yeah. I said, yes. He goes, then you would be selfish to keep that to yourself and not expose that to the world. And so in the way he said, so you'd be selfish to not be famous. And I was like, man, I internally struggle with that word, but redefining it helped me be okay with the being more public with what it was. And there is a selfishness of saying, if I feel like I have a solution to cancer and I don't tell the world about it, how many people did I not help? In essence, by omission, hurt them. So cancer is an extreme view, but if I can help somebody with the cancer's thinking, I better share that. Please.
Oh, cancer's thinking. That's so good. I struggle with the term influencer. I like thought leader, but also how about just inspirer or motivator? Modeler is a big one I like to do too. It's, dude, don't listen to me, just watch me, because I'm going to drink my own Kool-Aid, and every single thing that I coach my people on, I do. And that's probably why they listen to me. I've been there. I've done that. There's not, you're going to take fitness advice from somebody who doesn't work out everybody. You're going to take business advice from somebody who doesn't have a successful IT cybersecurity company. I mean, that's one of the hardest business in this world, because every single day we're under attack, but yet we've aced it. We're walking the talk, and I've been there. I love Lewis Howes, our friend Lewis Howes, but he's never drank a day in his life. So how's he going to tell me? He doesn't even know how good it actually could feel sometimes. In moderation. It's just when it gets out of control that it's a problem.
Yeah. It's interesting about that approach. It's there's so many different ways that you could look at it, and we need to have all the perspectives, as many of those perspectives as possible, to be able to truly assess that situation. And like, I have mine, you have you, somebody's like, well, René, I have the same message. I'm like, they're like, I don't want to say your message. I'm like, brother, you have a different take on it. We all need as many perspectives on a certain look as possible. Like, I don't own influence. I mean, of course I want to own the brand, and, I want to be thought of, but man, there's so many other great people that offer so much value in the world of influence. And when you're open to hearing all of those perspectives, you start really defining and developing a holistic view of things that isn't just one-sided. And to me, it's like, none of that stuff scares me. In fact, it excites me. Somebody was saying, well, so we have somebody that talks about, even like I was with Tim Tebow, and we were in Puerto Rico at my friend Ben Newman's event. And in the green room, Tim was there, and we just got into this long philosophical conversation around the word suffering and what it's meant over the years. And I just got off stage, and I'd done this whole thing on suffering. And he's like, oh, I was going to talk about it, but no, since you did, I won't. I was like, no, go talk about it, and reference our conversation if you want. I go, they're going to need your perspective and mine. Like, we have different views, even if they sound similar. We all need to look at it from all those different perspectives. If we can start realizing that there's room for all of us in this game, all of it is part of that algorithm of learning. Everything becomes way easier.
That's one on one of my lists, by the way, to unpack for me, what my relationship with suffering and sacrifice. I do believe that you kind of have to suffer a little bit, or else it won't sink. And
I don't think you can avoid suffering.
I don't think so either. I want to spend some time, and maybe it's something you and I will do in another session where we can unpack it and just have you and I love going pros and cons.
Well, think about it. Just look at you have suffered to create the body that you've created. You suffer in that gym every single day to do that.
Just to take the opposite of you, because I agree, but who says it's suffering? I love it. So that's the problem.
But let's go at that. Because you're associating that initial pain with the outcome. But who says suffering is a bad thing? Right? So if you know the word passion, the root word of passion is to suffer for something. And I love suffering for something meaningful. If you were to go and I were to take away the for, meaning you do not have the physical outcome that you do over that workout, the workout would be very different. You wouldn't enjoy it because we can't see the vision of what's going on. And I think that's what you provide, is this pathway. Like 75 Hard is good. It's designed to make you suffer, to make you stronger, so that you get an outcome that is wonderful, but it also prepares you for life. When life throws suffering at you, you're more ready for it. But I think the mindset shift that needs to happen in society is that we avoid suffering. Like, I know I have suffered over reading books that I don't want to read so that I can have conversations that I have now. Suffered in front of stages and getting coached to face things that are difficult. You've suffered in therapy to go through the difficulties and everything so that you can now walk out with perspective and compassion. And so that there's this piece. I think it's just more of a semantic of what the word suffering really actually means, because they botched it in the 16th century, saying that passion was about, this sex or the pursuit of something, but the passion of Christ was really about his suffering journey for something that was bigger than him. The passion was given to the martyrs who died for a cause, and then compassion is, I'm going to suffer with you. And that connection that happens when we suffer with something and you go through something, it's just a semantic thing. But I think the mindset, and I want people to hear this, it's not that Kelly and I are disagreeing. The goal is to achieve what Kelly is at, which is to really embrace and to love why he's doing what he's doing, even if it's hard. Even if it's hard. Because he has such a clear vision of that outcome, and he's done it so many times that he's associated the two. Most of us haven't.
This could be a Joe Rogan conversation for 3 hours. I agree with everything you said, and we're not debating it. We were saying the same thing, but the people that I want to really look out for, the people that I have the most love for, are the people that don't realize that they're suffering intentionally.
Yes.
Those are the people that I want to talk about, where you're suffering and you just don't know why. And when you meet with me, I pretty quickly unpack like how you're bringing that on. Like when you ate, you were suffering intentionally, thinking that that's what's going to bring you comfort. And that was me. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can quit drinking anytime. It's not really out of control. I made a ton of money by drinking, but the bad things were associated with that. With you was, 50% body fat when, in your
We
arteries are
already
clogged.
added
You're gonna
5%. It was 45. I'm just kidding.
you're gonna sorry, 45. I rounded up. And so you're gonna suffer with death, which still happens too. If you don't
Totally.
calm your mind, that's how suicide happens. They think there's no other option. So
So
please,
true.
if things are bad in your life, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Luck is created by you.
Yeah. And I think I'm hearing you say is there's an unnecessary suffering. There's a purposeless suffering that is self-imposed. Oh, that's a whole beautiful topic because like, and then, I'm choosing suffering either way. Either I suffer over this discipline over this meal, or I'm going to suffer by dying early and horribly. It's one of the two. I think Jim Rohn says it best. You're going to suffer one of two pains in life, either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret.
Yeah.
And he promised you the pain of discipline weighs ounces in comparison to the pain of regret, which weighs tons.
So here's an easy way to remember this, Renee, is something that's good for you usually feels crappy when you're doing it. If something bad for you really feels good while you're doing it. Insert food, alcohol, sex, scrolling.
So true.
Going to the gym. I don't ever want to go to the gym, ever. But when I go afterwards, I'm like, yes.
Yes. And the key is after. And making that correlation between the now and the after, the battle of the current and future self, the short versus the long term. These are dilemmas that we've been facing forever. And that mastery that Kelly's talking about is his ability to envision the outcome in the current difficulty that he's overcoming. And what's cool about the brain is that if you can envision the outcome, dopamine is secreted in that moment because it's the anticipation of reward, and anticipation requires vision. And if I can't vision an outcome, I have no dopamine to be the cheerleader through the difficulty. And so what he's saying is perfectly aligned with the science. And sometimes somebody who's so good at it, like Kelly, can forget that maybe he's like, I love the suffering. But really what he's saying is, I love the outcome and I know why I'm doing it. And I love being on purpose. He knows that is the purposeful journey. And it doesn't matter how difficult it is. Because I guarantee, I'm going to say this to Kelly, and I'll see if does the level of difficulty ever enter the equation of whether you do the right thing or not?
No.
Nope.
Never.
Difficulty isn't part of the equation.
What do they? I have a little saying. Impossible only describes the degree of difficulty.
Impossible only describes the degree of difficulty. That's
there you
perfect.
Go. That's good stuff.
Think about what that means and what that's saying. Impossible only describes the degree of difficulty, which means how hard is it going to be? Impossible. Cool. Let's go after it. This means it's going to be really, really hard. But it doesn't stop him.
Impossible says I'm possible right there in it. So, so what you were saying is the Joe Dispenza talk over for those, the brains that fire, or the brain cells that fire together, wire together. And
that's actually Dr. John Rady who said that. Joe took it from John.
Program your mind so that it has that outcome
absolutely
ingrained in your head. So in my head, when I think of the hard work, I don't think of that. I think of the outcome, and it just ignores the work and just goes to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. Well, like we talked about before, brother, we can have this conversation for days. I want to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you. So it's Kelly.Siegel, Siegel, correct? EL 17.
No, .71.
.71. It's going to be in the show notes. Make sure you get that. His book, if you go to him and follow and send him the message, or just say René, RENE, he's going to send you his old book, his previous book, his first book, and the new one that's coming out, Harder Than Life, and then Happier Than Life. And remember, he's got a coaching program that he's starting where 100% of the proceeds are going to charity. What that means to me, one, yes, it's altruistic and it's beautiful and it's giving, but it also tells you where Kelly is coming from. He's coming from a place of giving back. Kelly, it has been an absolute pleasure to have on here. I'll give you the last word. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I like to end everything with love everybody, tell the truth. Keeps it honest. The truth hurts once, a lie hurts forever. And when you're walking in your true, authentic self, you never need to lie. And that would be my one law I would create in this universe, that we all have to tell the truth, not your truth, just the truth. It'd make this life a lot simpler. It would create us conversations where we would grow closer together. And that's what I'm trying to do here. I just love having conversations with people that create closeness and move us together forward together. And that's why I adore you. And I'm grateful for you. I'm glad you took the time to lose the weight. And I cannot wait to steal, or I shouldn't borrow, some of your
Steal it all.
brains, because what we didn't get into is your brilliance in sales. So all of this brilliance equates to how you can become a better salesperson, which is just what this is. Influence is everything. So thank you.
Oh, how I wish I would have adopted your philosophy of love and tell the truth to everybody. Earlier in my life, it'd be a very different life. And I hope you're listening to this.
Yourself.
Yes.
You are a living, breathing one. Most people
Absolutely.
are in denial.
That's so true. But I hope you're listening to this and letting those words sink into you for whatever that means to you, wherever you are in life. I hope today's message found you there. And I hope it guides you to wherever it is that you need to go. And so, Kelly, an absolute pleasure, brother. I'm looking forward to a long and fruitful relationship and conversations to going forward. And looking forward to hosting you at my home. Again, if you like this, please like, subscribe, share, do all of the things. Follow Kelly. And we'll see you on the next episode on the Amplify podcast. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. If the experience resonated with you, follow us on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or amplifymylife.com. Share it with anyone else who's ready to amplify their lives. And remember to let our hearts speak in sequence. For more from René Rodriguez, visit meetrene.com.